Hare Krishna. I'm very happy to see you at our first class, which is called Relationships, and I would like to introduce you this wonderful book of Gaur Gopal Prabhu, Life's Amazing Secret. His book is about relationships in our life. He puts it simply and divides his book into 4 sections that he calls 4 wheels of a car. It is a car of our life, and all wheels should be strong enough to reach the destination. Each section, each wheel represents a particular aspect of life in the light of relationships. And we will follow these chapters one by one, and we will see that he is speaking about simple but very important things. And the best news, we can follow him now and learn it. So let us see what are those wheels of life relationships. We will discuss with you gratitude, forgiveness, being spiritual in a daily life, and social contributions. Let me briefly describe what is the book about. It is a conversation between Gaur Gopal Prabhu and his friend Hari. Hari asks in the beginning of the book, I have everything that I could have dreamed of, but within myself I have this sense that something is missing. Why do I feel stuck? Is it familiar to you? I'm more than sure that many people sometimes feel this. Gaur Gopal Prabhu says that there is a traffic jam within our minds, and people are floating on the waves of material existence, and they don't know the real goal of the life. They make some choices, they take some responsibilities. This is good, but sometimes the big black hole in a soul, and this hole couldn't be filled with any kind of material pleasures. So what can we do? The good news that we can clear up this disruption, and Gaur Gopal Prabhu offers this, describes these 4 wheels of a car, and with a simple simple tasks, simple exercises, we can improve ourselves and improve our life. First of all, let me ask you, have you ever faced overwhelming circumstances in your life? Have you committed mistakes? Have you faced failures? Have you been depressed? Yeah, more than sure. There is a story in Gaur Gopal Prabhu's book that God asked a man to push a mountain, and in the beginning he couldn't do it, but with the time his muscles developed and he was able to do it. So the same failures and challenges in our life are meant for making us stronger, and the way we perceive them, it will define if our mind is our friend or our enemy. So let us proceed to the first topic, a personal life, the attitude of gratitude. What does it mean to be grateful? Does it mean that negative situation will never happen in our life? No, there is no such thing. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that injury cases of karma are very complicated. You never know why you got some reactions for which action in the past, and there is no even use to ponder in it, because also Krishna says that happiness and distress will come in a due time. You don't have even to do special arrangement for them. That's why Krishna explains that you have to perform your duties, but give your results to me. And the Radhanath Swami says that problem is real, and we have to train our mind to focus on the positive and feel empowered to deal with negative, because it is positive attitude only which will increase our ability to deal with the negative situations. However, there is a logical question: what if bad things happen to me? Now, how can I be grateful when bad things happen to me? I will post this video of Amarendra Prabhu in the link in the playlist below this video, and you can watch it later. But briefly I will tell you what he's speaking about. So, the question, why do bad things happen to good people? And Amarendra Prabhu says, there is no such thing as a bad thing or a good thing. Everything what happens for some reason, and God is ever merciful and well-wisher and benefactor of everyone. We came into this material world with a particular mission, and the whole universe strives to help us to fulfill this mission. And we have to become the students of our life. We have to accept everything as a mercy of God, as a lesson of our life, and we have to be grateful. This attitude of gratitude is very important. By developing this attitude, we develop the relationships within our own selves, with God, with the whole universe, with people around. And with the time we will get rid of this duality of our minds. This is a good advice. Also, Gaur Gopal Prabhu says that gratitude is not simply a feeling or emotion. It is a state of mind which could be developed. And first step on this way is to train your eyes, to train ourselves, our souls, to perceive the goodness of life. Because we used to take things for granted and we forget how many good things happens in our life. We always have more to be grateful for than ungrateful. Once again, Radhanath Swami says, I'm not saying that the problem don't exist, but the real problem is that when negativity consumes our mind, not only do we lose the vision to see the beautiful things around us, but also the ability to solve the problems that confront us. We have to train our mind to focus on the positive and feel empowered to deal with negative. So, how can we do it? Gaur Gopal Prabhu describes very simple but very important task, exercise, a gratitude daily log. Let us see what is it about, and I would like you to pause the video after that and do this simple exercise. And this is 3R rule. First, recognize. What does it mean? Once again, we are used to concentrate ourselves on some negative situation. Our mind is pulling the negative situation and concentrate on it. There is nothing good in such behavior. We have to train ourselves to concentrate on the good things around us. And this is the second R. Remember, we have to make a list of good things, good situations, and especially good people to whom we are grateful. We have to write all them down and to make a list. What good things happened between you and those people, and what good things you have learned from that and that situation. This is the second R. And third R is to reciprocate. What does it mean? It means to give back. This is a very good rule because, you know, it is said that the bliss, the ananda of a spiritual Goloka Vrindavana, Krishna's planet, is every time increasing. Why? Because of the grateful reciprocation between Krishna and Gopi. Gopis do something for Krishna, and he is so grateful and he is so in love. He wants to do for them even more. And when he does it, Gopis so overwhelmed with love, they want to do for him even more. And thus it never ends. And all over the spiritual world, this ananda increasing, and this is a rule of reciprocation. And you know, sometimes we cannot reciprocate to the same person. For example, someone helped you in, I don't know, in airport, and you will never meet that person again. But you can reciprocate to anyone. Just develop this attitude of gratitude to anyone. And the more you will give, the happier you will become. So, If you want, you can pause the video and do this simple task. Gaur Gopal Prabhu offers us to do this task daily. At least try to do it on weekends. You can keep a special notepad for your gratitude log. Also, the situation about what if bad things happen to us. Gaur Gopal Prabhu shows us this picture, and most probably all of you have seen it already. It's very popular. Do you have a problem in life? And if yes, can you resolve it? If you can resolve it, then why worry? And if you cannot resolve it, then why worry? Because Krishna says that you are not controller of the situations in your life. It is Him who is giving the results. A lot of things actually happens beyond our control. And we have to accept them with gratefulness and accept them as a lesson. We have to meditate on each situation. What this person teach me? Because it is within you that this situation happens. This is you who has to develop the attitude of gratitude, not the other people. Do not worry about the outer world. You have to develop this attitude, and the more you will develop it, the more it will come back to you as the same reaction of gratitude. So, Gaur Gopal Prabhu says very important and interesting things, that gratitude is the first step in our spiritual practice. Why? Because God Himself is the best servant and the best friend, well-wisher and benefactor. And actually it is God whom we take for granted. We forget Him. Have you ever told God thank you for something? Because you breathe, because you have a home, because you have a family. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu says, we are not human beings having spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having human experience. And spiritual beings are usually, they are pure in nature. And they, in their nature is to be grateful. But we are so covered with these material problems and some situations. We forget how to be pure beings. But this is something what we have to develop, this attitude. And to be grateful towards everyone, and especially towards God, develops this attitude of gratitude. And the best way to be grateful to Krishna is to serve Him in any way you can. You can meditate, you can chant His names, you can serve His devotees, you can serve society, you can serve your family, you can do some practice, you can develop your own nature and dedicate everything to Him. And finally, Gaur Gopal Prabhu concludes in this section that it is not the happy people who are grateful. It is grateful people who are happy. So it is not that gratefulness depends on happiness, but it is happiness which comes from gratefulness. So in this section, in chapter number 1, gratitude, we discussed with you that gratitude log and 3R rules is one of the tasks which can help us to develop the attitude of gratitude. Also, we discussed that there is no such thing as a bad or good. It is the way we perceive them. And also, we said, Radhanath Maharaj said that if you will develop positive attitude, you will be more empowered to deal with negative situation in your life. And Now we will proceed to the chapter number 2, the forgiveness. The gratitude and forgiveness are very important things on the path of spiritual development. Actually, forgiveness is mentioned in many different scriptures, in many different shlokas. You can find in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, everywhere, that forgiveness actually one of the supreme qualities, a quality of Brahmana, real Brahmana. Let us read, for example, this third one shloka. The duty of Brahmana is to culture the quality of forgiveness, which is illuminating like the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is pleased with those who are forgiving, Srimad Bhagavatam. And you know, to develop this quality of forgiveness, it is not really easy. It comes from a pure soul. Thus, it could not be developed only in artificial way. However, we will discuss few techniques that we can do on a daily basis or in some particular situation, but we have to also perform some spiritual practices to purify our souls, our consciousness, our existence, and thus when our hearts will be filled with love of God, forgiveness and gratitude will automatically develop. However, there are some techniques and we can perform them. And in this chapter we will discuss a few kinds of techniques. First of all, before discussing the techniques, we have to discuss the nature of forgiveness. What is this? And to discuss the nature of forgiveness, we have to discuss the nature of offense. So sometimes I offend someone, sometimes someone offends me. Why it happens? Have you noticed that the biggest quarrels and very painful quarrels and painful situation happens among the people, among relatives, among people who are bound by the same, within one family, by the same karma, let's say. Why? Because the nature of offense is disrespectfulness. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu also says that familiarity breeds contempt. We are losing our sensitive attitude toward those whom we see every day. We start to think that they are obliged to do something for us. And we are losing our sense of gratitude, and we forget to praise them, to give them our love, etc., etc. And not only to people. Gaur Gopal Prabhu says that we must treat even inanimated objects with a sensitive attitude. Thus, we will develop respect toward everything around. So, let us see Gaur Gopal Prabhu mentions these 5 ways how we perceive things, and once again, it could be developed, this divya chakshu, let's say. It is not divya chakshu, but at least grateful chakshu. Chakshu means eyes. Grateful eyes. We have to train ourselves to see the positive things. However, there is a good it is a good thing to have a power of discrimination. It is a quality of buddhi, of intelligence. We have to realize what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. But we have to concentrate, we have to train ourselves to concentrate on goodness in different peoples, in different situations, to accept them as a mercy, as a representative of God, that they want, that God wants to teach us something. And thus we have to be grateful for this. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu suggests to see good and bad, but to choose to focus on the good and neglect the bad. Also, the reason for this is that the spiritual soul is pure, and that's why people usually do not have an ill will to offend us. It happens sometimes. People commit mistakes. And thus, we come to the following techniques. There are a few techniques which we will discuss in this section. Let us start with 4 principles of forgiveness. First, what we have to do, let us imagine, for example, some situation happened. You quarreled, maybe a wife and husband quarreled. So what they can do? At the moment of quarrel, of course, it is difficult to restrain your emotions. But allow your sometimes and contemplate on these 4 principles. Let us see. You have to contemplate first on the motivation of your friend. What was his desire? What was his why he committed this offense, or why he pronounced those harsh words? Why that happens? Look at the motivation of that person. Go beyond. Look beyond the situation, and you will see that usually people, once again, they didn't mention to offend us. They were looking for the best way to resolve the situation. Actually, all people are looking for love and to be loved, to love and to be loved. But because of some particular circumstances in our life, maybe family situations, or maybe some social issues or health issues, or maybe some mental abilities, etc., etc. Could be everything. We are all actually different, and we perceive this life in a different ways. Thus, we have to remember that people usually do not intentionally try to offend us. It happens just because of the differences between people, because of the differences of lifestyle and mental, let us say, construction. So look beyond the situation and the motivation of the person. The second rule is a very important rule: separate the episode from the person. Let us see. If I tell someone that he is bad or he is wrong, that is not a good thing to do, because the whole person couldn't be only wrong. It is a particular type of his behavior which was perceived by me to be wrong, right? So, however, we can discuss this, but we should, while we will discuss this, we have to discuss a situation, not a person. So we can be 2 adults discussing some type of behavior, and thus we will at least prevent the further offenses. Thus we will not touch the other person's pride or ego. We will discuss a situation. This is a good thing to do. The third principle is to understand your higher purpose, and it's up to you. Do you want to preserve the relationships to make it work, or you want to prove that you are right and that your opinion is the best, that you are the best one, etc., etc. That's up to you. Do you want to be poisoned by your own anger, or you want to grow through the forgiveness, grow through the gratefulness? And the last principle is the justice. There are some quarrels on the personal level, but sometimes the quarrels could happen on social level, and some legal issues may be there. So Gaur Gopal Prabhu does not blindly suggest you just forgive and be do nothing. No, he suggests to take some actions if there is some necessity in this. So those are 4 principles. So once again, if some situations happen, let's us say in the morning, during the day, of course, this situation will run within our minds, but we have to direct our minds to contemplate on this situation in the right way, and those principles are could be helpful to direct our mind to concentrate on the situation in a right way. So what are we doing? What are we going to do next? Generally, it is good to have a healthy conversation and resolve the situation. So, what are the rules to have this healthy conversation? Those are the rules of the corrective feedback. And to do a corrective feedback, to have a dialogue, productive dialogue, not offensive, but cooperative, we have to ask ourselves 4 questions. First, am I the right person to give this feedback or to have this conversation? Because if you quarreled with your friend or maybe with someone younger, you can have this conversation. But there are some rules of subordination, and we have to be respectful to those who are elder than us and maybe who has a higher position than us. We, in this case, we just have to pay our respect, but we shouldn't dare to be such arrogant to have particular dialogue towards those who are elder than us. So this is rule number 1. The second question what we have to ask ourselves before we go to the dialogue: do I have the right motive to speak with that person? And the simplest example I can give is about mother and child. For example, if child made something wrong and mother decide to scold him or punish somehow, why she is doing it? She is not doing it because she is aggressive or she hates the child or she wants to prove that she is such a wonderful mother and that child is just a nosy child. But she is doing it because of love. She wants to teach, to show a child some good behavior. And that's why you have to look what is there in your soul, what is your motive. Because sometimes people try to establish a dialogue, but they end up to prove again that they are right. So this is a not right motive. Until you have a right motive, just skip this dialogue. Try to contemplate on the reasons. Third question, what you have to ask yourself because before the dialogue: do you know the right way to build this dialogue? And there is a simple sandwich rule. Feedback sandwich rule means that first we have to describe the good qualities of the person. As simple as that, because person is good. That was a particular type of behavior that we perceived as a negative. Thus, we start with a description of good qualities and why we are grateful for that person. On the second stage, we have to discuss what we can discuss an episode again. Once again, we separate a person from episode and we discuss episode. And we reflect our feelings. Okay. And on the third level, we finish with a description of good qualities. This is a sandwich rule. And finally, last question, you have to ask, is it a right time to have a dialogue? And you know, sometimes some psychologists would say, if some situation is going on right now, it is better to count till 10 and to do not pronounce harsh words, right? We can count till 10 or till 100. But you know, from my own experience, maybe you also have this experience, sometimes it is better count till the evening or till the next morning. And we all know that there are some people who are not able to get rid of their anger even for years. Sometimes people get older and they still keep some anger, some pride, or maybe some guilt, whatever. So it is up to you. If you feel that it is the right time and you have right motive and you know the right way, so go ahead. But before you have this constructive dialogue, once again, let's review this another technique, which consists of 6 points. Gaur Gopal Prabhu describes it at the end of this chapter. First of all, once again, we identify the cause. We have to take a paper or notepad and write down what is a person, what is a situation, describe it, and what was your feeling, and whom you want to forgive. Second, look at the situation from the other person's perspective. Once again, look at the motivation. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Remember that there is no such thing as a ill will. People usually do not do it intentionally, and they do not strive to offend us intentionally. We have to remember this. Third, confirm the other person's thought. You can approach and talk to him directly, or sometimes it is not possible to talk directly, but we have, this feeling like, oh, what is going on? I cannot see this person. I would like to talk, but you cannot meet him. And maybe there are some problems in his life, in his situation. So if it is possible to talk to someone who can help you to understand that person's current situation, then do it. But be very careful. On this level, do not fall into trap and do not start gossip. There is nothing good to gossip about. If you want to find out the situation in order to help that person, then do it. But if you want just to complain about that person, then don't do it. Usually, it is better to wait for some times, allow some times before you speak to that person. Point number 4, foresee the difficulties that may arise. Just really write them down. Write down why you are angry, what feelings of you were hurted. Try to foresee the difficulties, because it is really not easy a thing to forgive. Sometimes it takes a lot of time and a lot of willpower and a lot of our own purification, our own spiritual practice to purify the mind and the soul and heart from this poison of anger. Point number 5. Here we may include our gratitude log and 3R rules. Here you have to list all good things that person has done for you. And finally 6, you have to conclude what do you want to do at the end. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu describes 4 points on this stage. You can forgive and forget, and it means you trust that person again, and that means that person really did it by mistake, and forgiveness comes on its own. It is the easiest way to reestablish the relationship. However, there are some more difficult ways when you have to forgive, monitor, or allow some time, because behavior of people does not change over the night. So sometimes maybe you have to allow some time for people to improve. Or let us say, for example, mother may tell her child, okay, I don't speak to you until you clean up your room, or maybe wash the dishes. Just like an example. Of course, it is not as simple as that between adults. Sometimes it may pass a month or a year or even more, up to the situation. A third issue is to forgive and not trust. Remember that association is very important, and if you feel that that person is not gonna change his behavior, and that his behavior affects you in a negative way, it is better to do not keep this friendship. And finally, it is about the legal actions. Gaur Gopal Prabhu says that we have to forgive, but if there is some social issue, we have to take some legal action. And here you can see the summary of those 6 points. So, once again, forgiveness and gratitude are 2 steps toward developing our spirituality. Radhanath Swami says that forgiveness is a quality of yoga. He says here that it is no unity is possible without forgiveness. Unity means yoga. So if we keep some anger, it means that we poison our mind, and that means that we ruin the principle of Shaucham. Shaucham means the pure lifestyle. Pure lifestyle is not only regarding our body purity, but also to our emotional purity. Because when mind is overwhelmed with emotions, we cannot do any type of yoga. We cannot concentrate, we cannot breathe properly. Our mind is heated up with the emotions. So the forgiveness is one of the most important things to do in order to proceed forward on the path of self-realization. So far we discussed with you gratitude and forgiveness. And we will proceed with you to the chapter number 3, and we will discuss with you how to be spiritual in our social daily life. Gaur Gopal Prabhu speaks about social life and about this very particular quality, the competition. Because if you, how you you may have noticed that the material life, the karmic life, is full of competition and envy. In our study or work in the society, even between neighbors or etc., etc., we all compete with each other because we want to achieve more, and this is an envy power which is within our souls, which moves us to do this competition. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that envy is one of the quality which he, if you have this quality of envy, you are not able to perceive any spiritual knowledge. Thus, we have to discuss the nature of this envy, and let us see what is there could be good about this envy. Is a healthy competition possible somehow? And the good news that actually, if we find out a person whom we envy, with whom we compete, we can see actually that he possesses some skills and qualities that we also want to possess. This is one of the rules. And actually, the strange advice could be given here, but very useful advice. You have to cooperate with that person whom you envy. That might be difficult, but you remember, association matters. When we want to achieve something, we have to find people who already achieved those things. And we need to start to serve those people. And it could seem very strange and contradictory, but if you realize that you envy some person, you have to figure out what exactly the qualities or skills of that person you like most. And it means that you yourself striving to achieve the same, or not maybe only qualities, maybe that person possesses something. Still, if you will try to serve that person and cooperate, make friendship, and try be humble, with the time you will develop the qualities by which he achieved the things what you want to achieve. So this is one of the advices. And also the advice about healthy competition is to compete with your own self. What does it mean? You set up the goal or goals, what you want to achieve, set up a time, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and look after yourself. Look stage by stage, what have you achieved and what is there more to achieve. And notice how you have changed with each stage. So this is a rule of healthy competition. With the time, while you will develop yourself and purify yourself, the competition attitude will reduce. And also there is one more clue. Why do we compete? And we sometimes don't know what to do in our lives, and we envy people, and sometimes we don't even realize why do we envy to those people. But simple reason for this is that we ourselves don't know what to do in our lives. And thus the very advice on this stage will be to find out who you are, what are your abilities, what is actually your own mission in your life, what are your talents, and what is your nature, etc., etc. And there are few ways to do this self-discovery. There are numbers of psychological tasks and exercises, and during this course we will do them. And of course there are spiritual methods, because with the time while you develop and purify your consciousness, you will achieve a pure vision. And here I would like you to do this exercise for self-discovery. It is a simple exercise. Divide your page in your notepad into 4 quadrants and fill them according to this table. Let us see. In the first quadrant, please write down what you like to do and what you can perform nicely. In the second quadrant, write down what you like to do, but you cannot perform it perfectly. In the third quadrant, write the things what you don't like to do, but you can do it really good. And in the last quadrant, write what you don't like to do and you cannot do. Sometimes it happens that people write a lot in this quadrant, number 4, and it means that people really doing something which is out of their nature. And you remember Krishna says that one who follows his own nature, one who serves him by his own talents, by who performs his how he said swadharma. He says also swadharmina bhajet, worship me by your own duties. He promised that following your own nature, we do not achieve sinful reactions. So, if you want, please pause the video and try to fill those quadrants. And of course, try to find out and fill the quadrant number 1. However, if you cannot find the things for the quadrant number 1, which is the best quadrant, which means that you have abilities and you have predisposition for some certain kind of activities, and but if you still cannot fill the quadrant number 1 and you feel lost in your life, the best advice for you could be that keep doing what you are doing now, and try to include in your life more try to attend more classes on self-discovery, maybe some psychological classes, or maybe try to attend some classes which will develop your talents. Maybe you can draw, maybe you're a musician, maybe you every time dreamed of like, you know, to do some sport exercises or etc. Try to find out some talents and develop them. Try to attend some classes on self-discovery, some psychological classes. And of course, trying to include some spiritual practice. And allow yourself some time. It will, with the time, when your consciousness will be purified a little bit more, you will see the things more clear. But for now, if you have some duties, do it, perform it nicely, do your best, and try to include some spiritual exercises, some psychological exercises. So, you can pause the video and fill the quadrants. Okay, so now, because we are discussing this chapter, being spiritual in our daily life, we would like to mention here the misconception which comes to people when they think, okay, how can I be spiritual among the people in a daily life? For example, I go to office or I work in some place and people there, they will think that I'm odd and they do not think about any kind of spirituality. So I will feel myself strange. Why? Because those misconceptions are in our mind. And let us see few types of misconceptions. First of all, I would like to discuss that people think that being spiritual means to give up social life. They think being spiritual, it means to become sannyasi immediately, and there is no such thing. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you have to perform duties. You go ahead and possess your kingdom. If you want to be rich, go ahead and be rich. But serve me by your senses, serve me by your activities, serve me by your possessions. Just dedicate everything to me, he says. And go ahead, have whatever you like. And there is also a rule for Kali Yuga. There is a restriction that one should not take sannyasa in Kali Yuga. So, you are more than welcome to have your family life. You have children, you travel, you have wonderful food, but do it everything for Krishna. Dedicate everything to him. That is what he wants. He says in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi yad asnashi, yad juhoshi dadasi yad, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. So whatever you do, dedicate to him. And just do it. Have whatever you like. According to the Vedic injunctions. The other misconception we can speak about, that people sometimes think that they will lose some chances in their life. They have to kill the ambitions. And this is really not a thing to be worried about. For example, let us take an example about Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. He had a kingdom, but he's the best devotee of Krishna. Did he lose something? No, he didn't. The only difference between us and Arjuna, because Arjuna dedicated everything to Krishna and we want to possess ourselves. So you can have whatever you like. Just have it for Krishna and serve by your by everything what you have. Serve Krishna, and thus you can set up any goal, any aim, and dedicate this aim to God and to go ahead and achieve it. So here I would like also to mention this particular misconception that we tend to compartmentalize our life. It is like we used to put in boxes some parts of our life. This is my work, this is my family relationships, this is my friendship, and we do not mix it. But indeed, Gaur Gopal Prabhu suggests we shall look for integrity. And the spirituality actually is a good basis for this integrity. We have to build a strong basis in our mentality, in our consciousness, and to build the whole life on this basis. And thus, we will achieve even more than just being spiritual, by just being on the material level. So here in this slide I put few more misconceptions. You can pause the video and read them. However, Gaur Gopal Prabhu also suggests that he actually he says, I strongly encourage people to be successful in the world, and if you want to have more, go ahead and have it, but do not become selfish, because the wealth assists selfishness by enabling one to perform charity. Remember, reciprocate. The more you receive, the more responsibilities to give you have. And also we have to mention this, that spirituality actually develops a good character, a strong character, a firm. It develops the determination of mind. And when we will develop the determination, we will see how people will be affected by our behavior. And there is also a rule about achar prachar, we know, that we have to walk our talks, because people are not touched by what we say, but only by what we do. And even with the time, if you will have your strong sadhana, and if you will be firm, and if you will be truthful, and if you will have spiritual principles in your life, if people will see this integrity in your character, with the time they will respect you, they will ask the advices from you, and they will listen you. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, what great men do, common men follow. So include some practices in your life, and allow sometimes, be stable, do it daily, and purify your existence. Thus, we proceed to the last chapter. So far we discussed gratitude, forgiveness, and being spiritual in a social daily life. So, the last wheel of our car, of our lives, and of our lecture, and the social contribution. Let us see what Gaur Gopal Prabhu says. This is a wonderful comparison. He speaks about two kinds of philosophy. Egotistic philosophy, philosophy of an ice cream, that we have to enjoy everything before it melts, and the philosophy of candle, to give light to others before it melts. So, what does it mean? It means to shift from the concentration on our own lives to the service, to people around, to the service for people around. There is also the suggestion from psychologists. If there is some overwhelming situation in your life, and you are totally out of control for this situation, and you cannot resolve it, and it is lasting for some time, just shift your attention from yourself and start to help the others. And you will see how the negativity of that situation will dissolve. Because by giving, we receive. By serving, we receive. And people usually they are scared to give, because one of the qualities of material karmic person is a lobha, is a greed, and people try to lose something what they already possess, but actually it is only for material people that they think that they possess some wealth or families or some qualities. However, we have to realize that there is nothing in this world that belongs to us. Everything belongs to God, and He gave it to us in order to exchange the love, in order to increase this love. And we have to use everything at the service of Him and of people around. Also, Gaur Gopal Prabhu says that before we help the others, we have to help ourselves. And how to help ourselves? To develop who we are. Because you remember, by following your duties, you will not achieve sinful reactions, and you will be gradually elevated to the higher state of life. And what Gaur Gopal Prabhu suggests about serving attitude. He suggests, as we discussed before in the topic of gratitude and forgiveness, we shall start from a family, because this is the most difficult part, and family members are those people with whom we are bound very well, and thus we have to put all our efforts to clear up this bondage and give as much more love as possible to purify the relationship by which we are bound. And thus family is our first step where we can learn the selfless attitude. I would like also to tell this wonderful story about Lata Kari. If you have Gaur Gopal Prabhu's book, you can read it at the end. I will just briefly describe this story, wonderful story. Lata Kari is a 65 years old woman. Once she came back home and she saw her husband have some pain. He was sick. They went to the hospital, and doctor said that they had to have some expensive treatment. But they were poor people, and they didn't have money, and they were so upset, and they decided to go back home. And on the bus station there was a samosa seller, and they bought 2 samosas for a few rupees. And samosa seller wrapped those samosas into some newspaper. And when Lata Kari unwrapped the samosa, she saw an advertisement in newspaper, and it was said that the next day there was a marathon, and the money prize was available for the winners. That's all. She decided right then and there that she's gonna run. So the next day she stood in front of the organizers, and in the beginning they didn't want to allow her to run. She was 65 years old, and but in the marathon there were teenagers and adults in a good form, physical. But finally they allowed her, and she stood there in her sari and with bare feet, and she ran. That's a wonderful story, and Gaur Gopal Prabhu describes it very nicely. But I just want to mention that she was one-focused, and the only thing what she wanted is to win this money. It was a question about life and death of her beloved husband. And guess what? She won. She won. She picked up her money. She get into the hospital, and she was able to pay that expensive treatment for her husband. So this is really wonderful story. We can learn a lot from this story. Of course, it is some really outstanding situation, and honestly, we have to put a daily efforts. We shouldn't. Sometimes we should run a marathon, but it is also good to do a daily service, a daily sacrifice for those people whom we love, with whom we live together the same life. And from the family, from the service within the family, we can increase the ambient, and we can embrace the whole society, the whole nation, the whole world. And one of the best example for the selfless service in society, let us see the soldiers who keep us safe, or some volunteering programs, or maybe if some disaster, a natural disaster happens and people go and give their help to people in some hospital or maybe some firemen, etc., etc. So we can consider this service also. Gaur Gopal Prabhu gives an example about his friend Vinay at the Varshana dental camp. You can read in the book. And he says that service brings a great joy which you cannot buy for any money. Service purifies our consciousness, our hearts. It develops our sense of gratitude, sense of forgiveness, and it develops the greatness of our heart. So, we are at the end of our lecture, and I would like just briefly describe you what we have discussed. First, we discussed the gratitude, and we discussed the 3R rule of gratitude daily log. You remember, recognize the situations and people, remember the situations and people and describe their good qualities, what you are grateful for, and reciprocate. Also, we said that the best gratitude we can develop towards God, because He is the greatest servant, and we have to reciprocate with Him and develop our relationships with Him. We have to serve Him back in different ways. You can choose your own. Meditate, serve in society, or chant His holy name, which He loves very much. The second topic we discussed forgiveness, and there were few techniques and few principles, and you can go back and see once again that part of the video. And if gratitude log is suggested by Gaur Gopal Prabhu to do daily, so you have to also try to keep the forgiveness technique and do it when time arises, when some situation arises. Just review those techniques, because forgiveness is one of the qualities of Brahmana, and it is really difficult to achieve, but it will purify our existence. Later we discussed how to be spiritual in daily social life. We discussed the misconception of spirituality, and we told that if we include some spiritual practice, even small, but we will do it daily and we will be firm, with the time the power of our character will be developed, and we will be able to influence people around. And we have to follow what we talk, achar and prachar rule. And finally, we discussed social contribution, and a very important notice is there about two kinds of philosophy: philosophy of candle and philosophy of an ice cream. Philosophy of an ice cream says enjoy yourself, and philosophy of candle tells us give light before you melt. And it is very important, because service to family, to society, purifies our hearts, our lives, our consciousness. And those are 4 simple but very important steps on the way of spiritual self-realization in Gaur Gopal Prabhu's book. If you can read this book, please go ahead and read. It is a wonderful book. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu concludes at the end of his book. He says that association matters. If we want to achieve something, we have to be surrounded by the soulmates, and we have to be very, very careful about the influence what people put on us, and we have to be careful for our own attitudes, how we influence the other people's. And I would like to finish the lecture with this wonderful phrase. When a raindrop falls from the sky, if it is caught in hands, it is pure enough to drink. If it falls in the mud, it is not good enough even to wash feet. If it falls on a lotus, it shines like a pearl, and if it falls on oyster, it becomes a pearl. So, you are raindrop. Where will you choose to follow? Thank you, everyone. I am very happy that you are all here with me. Please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. See you at the lecture number 2.